Peace, party people. Welcome back to Where My Killer Tape At. This is episode 84. I am going to do a quick review of the Dolomite Is My Name movie on Netflix starring Eddie Murphy. Also, we're going to do a shout out to the late great Walter Mercado. I'm going to talk about how Kanye really sounds like your pastor, man. He really does. Yeezy really does sound like him. I'm going to also finish up the review on the season of Tang The American Saga on Hulu. We're going to talk about post-traumatic growth. And I'm going to talk about Tank's statements on the oral sex between men and the homophobic response to that. Check it out. Yo, where my killer tape at, B? For episode 84, where my killer tape at, I was sipping on Voodoo Brewery's Untitled Art Imperial Stout in their brewery out of Wisconsin. And they actually, what they do is they get local artists to do artwork and they put it on their beer cans. So it's pretty dope stuff. Shout out to the Bar House for putting me on. No one is paying me for this, but this Imperial Stout was delicious. And what I mean by that is a lot of stouts try to like make everything sweet. But you know, the thing about stouts is that it's real bitter. That's what makes them so just on point. And this Imperial Stout is Imperial than a mug. I usually drink Russian Imperial Stouts, but I guess Wisconsinian Imperial Stout is where it's at. Word up. For those that know me, indeed, I like the flow. Actually, for those that know me, y'all know that I'm from the projects. Shout out to James and Row houses in the Bronx, the Soundview area of the Bronx. That's like the southeastern part, a little bit above the South Bronx. And it's wild because, like, I lived on the 13th floor of my building. Yes, the number 13, right? And it used to always wild me out that there was people that live on the first floor, like, because like all kinds of wild shit be happening. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, and let's not say even on a good day, it's just noisy as fuck. And I remember when I first brought my partner to the Bronx, and we stayed in my mom's apartment. You know, I remember one time we went out, we got back at like 4 in the morning, and she was like, "Yo, people are still out there talking and arguing like it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And if you can hear it on the 13th floor, imagine living on the first floor. So shout out to the people that live on the first floor of the projects. Word. Yo, real quick, rest in peace to Walter Mercado. He was a Puerto Rican psychic. I know, I don't get down kind of like that, but I want to explain to you why, like, if you grew up in a Latino household, why Walter Mercado was like instrumental to your upbringing. And I remember on Sundays, because on the weekends, like me and my family hung out. Like, and when I mean my family, I mean like my extended family. So like my mom's and my siblings, we would go, you know, because we lived in Manhattan when I was younger, and then we moved to the Bronx. But I had family throughout the 4 boroughs because I ain't had no family in Staten Island, but I had family in Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan. So like every weekend we would go to somebody's house, and we would, you know, of course they watch novellas and all that shit. We would party. My uncles would play bingo, or they would play dominoes, and they would drink the fuck up. They used to drink. Anyway, there was a time when Walter Mercado, he would come on. There was a program he would come on, and he would go through all the horoscopes, and he would tell you your horoscope for the week. And like, yo, you had to shut the fuck up for that. Like it was wild because I remember sometimes like some of my cousins would go outside and they would come back in. They'd be like, shh, 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 and you be quiet. You know what I mean? And then like if you was like, you know how sometimes somebody tell you to be quiet and you be like, man, I don't gotta be quiet, and then you be quiet, right? But you say some shit under your breath and they hear you. They give you this look like they gonna whip on you later on. Like it's on later on for talking during Walter Mercado, and they don't forget. So he would come on there, and he was very flamboyant. Like he reminded me of Liberace because he had the capes and stuff. He had the coiffed hair. He had the rings, the big ass ruby rings on, and all that. And he would always do that. And I remember too that like you would go to like the bodega, and they would sell like Walter Mercado cleaning products. So they had like his shampoo, his conditioner, and I remember we used to have that shit in my house like religiously. And I remember one time I got old, I got sick, and he had rubbing. Somebody had they sent me to this lady's house, old lady's house. She put all this rubbing alcohol on me all over my body. It was wild, and yeah, it was wild, son. It was wild, b. And like so yeah, so that the reason why I remember that is because I remember a time when my aunts, my tias would be together, and they'd just be all of them, and they would just be kind of like bonding in that situation, and it was like their time. Like, even though it was only for like 30 minutes, it was their time. You know what I'm saying? So that and things like that remind me of me coming up and remembering my family and how me and my cousins and my aunts and my uncles, we will all just get down. Just all of us just get down. It really reminds you of that time, man. Remind me to tell you about the time we used to be in Brooklyn and me and my cousins used to fight all these cats out in the street. Yeah, yeah, word up. Rest in peace, Walter Mercado, who was 87. So yes, before I cancel my Netflix subscription, I got a chance to see some joints. I did get a chance to watch Dolomite is My Name with the fam. Let me just say this, man. I heard an interview with Eddie Murphy. Well, I heard that Eddie Murphy said in an interview that the last movie he did, what was it called? It was called Mr. Church. It was freaking horrid. Oh my god! Just the premise, I was like, I'm not even gonna see it. And I think what happened was somebody I know was watching it. And I just happened to be in the room, and I saw like 20 minutes of it, and I was like, bruh, definitely not. I don't know what he was doing. I know that Eddie Murphy got that Disney money, so he's been doing a whole bunch of movies that they've been paying him hardcore money for, and I guess he could do no wrong. He decided to do that, and he was pretty much a magical Negro. It was bad, but anyway, he has been said, he's been saying in certain interviews that he didn't want that to be like his last joint, so he wanted to do. If that was going to be his last joint, he didn't want to go out like that because he's not saying that Dolomite is My Name is going to be his last joint. But anyway, he plays Dolomite, aka Rudy Ray Moore. Rudy Ray Moore was a musician in the 70s who took on this character named Dolomite, and he started doing like a lot of stand up with it, and it eventually became a movie, which is a fucking classic. Dolomite is a fucking classic, and later on, he did a whole bunch of other joints like The Son of Satan. But and then all of them were equally dope. Like, to be quite honest, all of them were dope. And what I mean by dope, I'm not saying that they were stellar. Like, it was blaxploitation when blaxploitation was in its heyday. I'm not saying it was stellar, but he took ideas of folklore, street folklore, that was based off of old slave narratives. And like when you look at John the High Conqueror. Look that up, John the High Conqueror. Those narratives that were around during slavery times, and they were used as stories of upliftment for young people to look for liberation. So a lot of street cats took that and made it the story of Dolomite. They kind of like mismatched those stories, and they threw like pimp game in there and all that stuff because that's what was big in the 70s. So he took these stories and he made it into his character and he put them in the movies. There again. Then again, like most blaxploitation films, the budget was low quality. So they didn't have the best special effects, they didn't have the best acting. So Dolomite threw everything in there. He threw street stuff, pimp stuff, liberation stuff. He threw martial arts in there, women, and this kind of like this story, starring Eddie Murphy, and features a lot of well-known black comedians. Is really, really dope. I appreciated it. Shout out to Netflix for that. And Eddie Murphy just did his thing. Like, you forget that Eddie Murphy could just fucking lay it down. He could really become a character And he just really, when he's allowed to be his full self, you get this quality of work. So I like it. Everybody in there is enjoyable. There's a part in there that really touched me where the lady that plays Mama B in his movies talks about how she didn't see women like her in the big screen. She was a heavy set, dark skinned woman, so she talked about that and how that was important to her. And I thought that was really dope. So definitely check it out. And shout out to Rudy Ray Moore, man. Word. You rat soup eating motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yo, I think Chris should run first on this one. I think so. Yeah. Yo, I think Chris should run first on this one. I think so.
Yo, so your homie Yeezy is out there doing these Sunday church services. He did it in my city. It's funny because like he did it in my city when Dave Chappelle had that concert. I know mad motherfuckers that went. And you know, like you would think that at this point, like people would know how I get down. I don't really fuck with Kanye like that. I mean, it's been a while since I fucked with him. It's been like a decade. Really, it's been like more than a decade since I fucked with him. You know what I mean? So like he's MAGA, B. He's MAGA. But he does these services and all that, and he sells his merch. Which I don't got a problem with him selling merch. Like I don't like. It's like I don't have a problem with churches asking for money. I don't, because I know that a lot of churches provide services that they don't charge their congregants for. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of it is really to maintain the building, depending on where you at, right? Because some churches have budgets. Anyway, like mega churches, they have budgets, so they don't really need your money. But that being said, like a lot of your pastors are really Kanye West without the rap albums, without the platinum plaques. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of them are MAGA, man. Like I remember when TD Jakes used to fuck with Bush too really hard, like hard body. You know what I mean? Like he was on his faith-based initiative committee. So like, yeah, he fucked with him hard body, man. Like how about your man? What's his name? That comedian kid turned to like a motivational speaker, relationship expert. He's on Family Feud. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He fuck with Trump hard body. He MAGA, man. He think Trump is the second coming, man. Steve Harvey, yeah, he think that Trump is the man, that he really good for black people, and you can't tell him shit about it. So like Kanye really is like a lot of these motherfucking preachers anyway. They usually on the right side, the far right side of the political spectrum. And I wish more people could see that. That he's not doing anything new. He's not. I honestly don't think that he tripping. I really don't. Like I think he fucks with Republicans like hard like that. Like and then the thing about him is that he's like a lot of these other black Republicans. He's like, oh y'all not free thinking. Y'all not really thinking for yourselves. Y'all let the Democratic Party tell y'all what to do. Like that's some new shit to say. Like you know what I mean? So like he sounds just like them. Your pastor sounds just like Yeezy. Word. I debated on whether I should talk about Tank's statements or not. And here's why. I just think that a lot of people are just not ready. When we talk about, we could talk about the political spectrum. We can talk about different, but when it comes to sexuality being seen as a spectrum, it's something that a lot of us can't, like just fathom. You know what I'm saying? And let me say this. Really, the discussion we should be talking about sex more so than like sexuality, because I think what Tank was saying was about sex, not sexuality. And for some people, unfortunately for men, right, toxic masculinity, our maleness is tied into our sex and our sexuality, right? Like it is so much, men perform this so much about being a man and being masculine and being tough, that a lot of times we come off as ridiculous and quite frankly, ignorant, right? And I'm not saying that sex and sexuality are not connected. It's that a lot of times we see what we do in the act of sex as part of our sexuality. And I hope I'm clear on that. And I want to talk about what he said. Tank, the singer, the R&B singer, was on Angela Yee's podcast, and they started talking about sex, and he gave a hypothetical, right? And I don't know where this idea that people are like, and we're going to talk about that in a second, The hypothetical he gave was that he said if one man gives another man oral sex, that person is not gay. And his exact words was he sucked the dick once and then he's like, I'm not sure if I like it or not. Let me try it again. And then he says, you know what? It's not for me. I don't like the taste. See what I'm saying? He concluded it doesn't mean he's gay. It just means he sucked dick twice. And again, he's talking about a sexual act. And a lot of times we kind of like put those two together. And it doesn't necessarily mean that. I remember a couple years back, and this is a discussion we have at the barbershop all the time, where Kanye's ex, what's her name? She was talking about how Kanye liked 3 fingers in his booty hole. And everybody's like, he's gay. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't make him gay. Like, it's an act. It's a sexual act. It's not what makes him, hetero or gay or whatever you want to say, right? So, again, everybody has their own sex fetishes. Everybody has certain things. Everybody has certain kinks. I'm sorry, I didn't mean fetishes. Everybody has their own sex kinks. And what I like may not be something that you like, and what he likes might not be something that he likes, and what she likes might not be something what she likes. So a good example, the best example I give is BDSM. Some people are into it and some people are not. Just because I tried BDSM one time or maybe twice and I don't like it doesn't mean I'm into BDSM. Just because someone robbed a bank one time doesn't mean that they're bank robbers, right? So I think, again, he's talking about sex and sexuality. And I think that a lot of times we get it twisted. Homophobia, right, as discussed by the scholar, not to be confused with the comedian Michael Kimmel, and I got to find a book that he has it in, but he says homophobia is the fear of being outed, right? So a lot of us will say, "Oh, Tank is gay," because if I co-sign on what he says, then people are going to think that I'm gay. You see how that works? So a lot of times, a lot of us will be involved in, say, for example, if there's a gay man in our circle in the locker room and I start to tease him, other men will tease him too because they'll feel like if they don't tease him as hard as I am, I'm gonna think something's wrong with them, And I get this a lot. Like if I defend somebody from the LGBT community, the assumption is that I'm always gay. And even I in the past have been like, well, I'm not gay. And this is why I'm not gay, because I'm married to a woman and I have kids. Like I'll make all these things to make it seem I'm more of a man, because that implies that being gay is bad. We talked about this on the show before. So that's even homophobic. So what I should be saying is, if I agree with Tank and somebody says, well, you're gay, I'll be like, but that's actually irrelevant to the discussion. It has nothing to do with it. The question is, what was he saying? Was Tank saying make that person gay? That's the debate. That's the debate we should have. And again, it's on a spectrum. If we want to discuss it further, we can. But the reason why I didn't want to discuss it is because a lot of times these quote unquote debates fall into whether someone is gay for agreeing with him or not, or this is what I do, and that's really just it puts people on the defensive and doesn't allow people to really like open up. And that's why I always say we should always talk about sex and what we like and what this person likes. And I know a lot of that is private, right? But sex is so taboo. We have all these things, and I think that actually, when we go there, it actually demonstrates how much we deny ourselves pleasure. It really does. It really, really does. It really, like, if I go somewhere and I'm like, oh, I'm into BDSM, they'll be like, oh, you a freak. It's like it's like I have two heads, and it shouldn't be that way. That's how I get down, and people should appreciate that. And again, your sex, what you do in your bedroom is your business. You don't have to broadcast it. I don't think you should. But I think we should treat sex like how we should treat salaries. We should discuss how much we make at the workplace with other people, our coworkers, our superiors, our subordinates. We should talk about it at the coffee shop, at the barber shop. Like, capitalism wants us to not talk about our salaries, and I think with sex we should be more open to discuss and explore those kind of ideas. And as long as it's consensual and nobody's being exploited and no one is stealing and nobody's abusing, then it should be something that we should find pleasure in. So I know I went off topic a couple of times, but I really wanted to talk about that. Word is born. For those of you that have Hulu, I hope you got a chance to watch Wu-Tang and American Saga. It was 10 episodes, and like I stated before, when I reviewed it the first time, I had watched the first 6. So what Hulu was doing is they released the first 3 that one week, and they released one each week, which is kind of weird. I mean, not the part about releasing one each week, but just they hit you up with 3, and then because it was like a real teaser. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I'm gonna get to see the whole season today, and you don't. Anyway, it's worth watching. I grew up watching episodes each week. I got spoiled, I guess. I got addicted to the binge, right? And but anyway, it's a dramatization of how the Wu-Tang got together. And it's funny because for some reason I remember it going down differently. They do get into, and I made a mistake. Shout out to this Dolo. RZA was on Tommy Boy and Tommy Boy Records, and the GZA, the Genius, was on Cold Chillin' Records. Cold Chillin' had Big Daddy Kane and all of them on there, Biz Markie and all of them. So, and then Tommy Boy had De La and everybody else, Prince Paul, the Stetsasonic, all of them. They had all of them on that label. A lot of the classics on both labels actually. Both, and they were actually small independent labels. They didn't have like major distributors on there. So so they were pioneering in of itself. So they get into that deal. They go through what happened to them while signed to those record labels, and then what happened afterward. They show how the RZA gets dropped from Tommy Boy after they try to give him this clean cut Playboy image. As you can see in that video, We Love You, Rakim. You can actually find that online, and they actually show the making of the video in the series. Anyway, if you're familiar with the Wu-Tang story, I'm not spoiling anything for you. They introduced some characters that weren't real life characters that they threw in there. I don't know why. I need to sit down and watch what was different and what wasn't different, because I know we don't know all the details of how Wu-Tang got together. We know that there were different people. Some of them were solo artists, some of them were in groups, and they came together to form Wu-Tang. So they get into that, and they show you the making of the demo. It was called The Fourth Chamber. That's on the Wu-Tang album. It was like the last song of the first Wu-Tang album. That was the original demo of the Wu-Tang Clan. And how the RZA was really trying to support this idea of this super group. So, but my only issue, there's 2 things I have an issue with. A lot of people get this wrong, and they have a good budget. You can tell they have a good budget. Like, according to, I think it's episode 4, they show a scene where American troops are invading Iraq for Desert Storm, which happened in 1991. Which, Desert Shield morphed into Desert Storm. And so we know that that's 1991. We know that that's that year. But I originally thought that it took place in 88 because they show Rakim. So I don't know. I don't know if they're just going by memory. They're not really doing the timeline. And they jump back and forth a lot. So that part is confusing. And then how they introduce the Nation of Gods and Earths. Like, the Nation of Gods and Earths did not, or which is the 5%ers, they did not go around preaching in the street. Now, on Sundays, they would have parliaments in places like, is it Malcolm X Park in Harlem? I could be wrong. And in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, or what they call Medina, they would have parliaments, and that would be groups of the members of the Nation of Gods and Earth getting together and sharing the knowledge, doing the knowledge, sharing what they learned, how they applied the lessons. They didn't really have booklets that they passed out. Now, when you took the classes in Harlem, you had to take notes. So they gave you notes, and you had to write down those notes, and you had to learn the lost found Muslim lessons that they got from the Nation of Islam. You had to memorize that, and they usually gave you those in type paper. But they didn't have because there's a scene where they show the RZA reading the actual book, the 120 of knowledge, and that's not actually true. You learned that orally, and you have what was called an enlightener. And I don't know, I haven't talked to members of the Nation of Gods and Earths about it. I might bring my boy A Life Allah on here so we could talk about it. I'm gonna do that. But other than that, it's dope, man. I like it, man. They got a good cast. They got cast that are doing their thing. Work. Yo, in this health segment, I want to talk a little bit about mental health, and a lot of people ask me to talk about mental health. A lot of people stop me in the street I actually had like 2 people stop me and they were like, "Yo, you should do like mental health stuff." And I had someone on my IG story ask me a few questions about it. And the reason why I really try to like stay away is because it's not because I'm not educated enough. I just don't feel like I'm qualified to like speak on it, because there's a lot of information out there that's incorrect. But I want to talk about this, autumn depression thing, this fall depression thing that a lot of people get, and it's real. Like, there's people that say that it's bullshit, but we know it to be true. It's in the DSM. I know people will probably argue that that just because it's in the DSM don't make it right. But I think what happens for those people that suffer from depression, I think that that thing they get during the fall, that sort of depression kind of adds on to what they already have. And it makes sense because especially in places where you're cold, where it's like where the winters are long, like here in the Midwest, the winters are longer than any other part of the country, and the warmer months are shorter. When it's cold, you tend to stay inside longer, and we know that. We know this should be true. We know that people are less likely to venture out when it's colder or when it snows, when the weather is inclement weather, excuse me. So like you spend more time by yourself, and you spend more time away from the people that you need to be around, and you kind of like when those things happen when you're by yourself, you start thinking about certain things. You start dwelling on certain things that's happened, particularly the negative, the bad stuff, or stuff that's happened to you in the past. Particularly if you got PTSD, and those things like come back out when you're by yourself. People are more likely to drink when in those situations. They're more likely to self-medicate. So I guess what I want to say is that I know, and I'm not trying to like, because I know like this is what happens. This is what I'm talking about. Like people look for solutions on how to fix it. And sometimes there are certain things that you just can't fix, right? And there's some things you can probably fix. But it's like I was telling some people the other day, depression is like a monkey, man. And the thing about that monkey is that monkey jumps on the back when it feels like jumping on your back. Usually in the most inopportune times, it'll jump on your back. And you could do whatever you can. You could probably try to beat it. You could try to knock it off. You could try to slam it against the wall. But that monkey won't leave your back until it's ready to leave your back. And sometimes it'll happen not on your time. You know what I'm saying? So I try not to really be like, oh, this is what you need to do. I think what we need to learn is we need to learn what our triggers are. I think that's probably the best way to really deal with it. You know what I mean? But anyway, I learned the other day from a particular individual. He's a doctor, he's a psychologist, and he talked about post-traumatic growth and how we do know that when people witness a traumatic event, or they are a victim of a traumatic event, or they go through a traumatic event, we know that 25% of those people suffer with PTSD. We know that to be true. But then we also know that most people have what's called post-traumatic growth. And I like to look at something like I talk about how I came from the projects. I came from the crack cocaine era, and a lot of us suffer PTSD from that. But a lot of us also have this post-traumatic growth, right? That despite that trauma, we were still able to grow emotionally and mentally. And there are ways for us to figure out how to fix that, how to have post-traumatic growth. And I think that's what we need to start looking for. Those things that, I made it. Why did I make it? And why am I still here? And what do I need to do to continue to thrive, right? And to overcome all of this. And I think that's how we got to start looking at things in that direction. Maybe I'm tripping. Let me know what's up. For episode 84, we got to end the show with some shout outs. Definitely shout out to the homie Dex for looking out for me. My mentee Brandon, he got his own place. You know what I mean? I know it feels good. You're growing up, kid. I see you. Shout out to the folks at Holy Grown's Coffee Spot. Man, we love y'all, man. It's a dope spot. I need to go out there more often, man. But I send a lot of people out there, and they always come back like, yo, thank you for that. Shout out to Capoeira Dayton. I love y'all brothers, man. We need to get some sisters in the group. Shout out to Airship Ashanti out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I had some of the members of Airship Ashanti on the show, but the audio was fucked up. So I got to bring them back for real. So I'm looking forward to that. Definitely shout out to my city for holding it down. Once again, it was a rough year for us, but we still here. Word is born. Yes. Once again, party people, another episode of Where My Killer Tape At. I want to thank everybody for really checking us out, man. Love y'all. I get a lot of comments. A lot of people, send me DMs and they tell me how much they love the show, how much they love my voice. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Do me a solid, man. Do me a solid, y'all. This is the dope part about podcasting. Like, they look at subscription numbers, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to talk to your coworker. I want you to talk, well, maybe not your coworkers. I don't want you to get fired for listening to me. But talk to your peoples, talk to your mans, talk to your women's, you know what I mean? And say, yo, do me a favor. Subscribe to my man's podcast. I'm on, Apple's, what's that called? Apple Podcasts. I'm on Google Podcasts. I'm on Stitcher. I'm on SoundCloud. Have them go on one of those platforms and hit that subscribe button, man. Because I need to get more subscribers. Word is born, man. That's how cats get money, man. And I'm not saying that I'm going to take that money and buy a Bentley. You know what I mean? It's going to go to the show because I still need more equipment. I still need a venue. I still need a website. I don't even have a website, yo. And I shouldn't be laughing at shit like that. But, yo, come through for me, man. Anyway, if you want to continue the discussion, you can go online. And you could put hashtags where my killer tape at, killer spelled Killa. If you want to book me for a workshop panel discussion, I do have an honorarium. Hit me up on the Gmail. It's DanTresOmi, DanTres is the Sam, OMI at Gmail. If you just want to say what's up, you can hit me up on the official Twitter podcast, official Twitter account for the podcast, which is going to be at Omi's Podcast, OMIS Podcast. I am the DanTresOmi. Also, if you just want to hit me up, my main Twitter account, which is lit, is at DanTresOmi, DanTresOmi. Word is born. Thank y'all. I can't just say that enough. I love y'all. Word.